Hello, I'm Kimberlie Acosta. Welcome to the Native News Update on Thursday, September 23rd. Many of the stories you hear here can be found at our website, IndianCountryNews.com. And here's the news for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The 2010 Native American Music Award nominees have been announced, and tracks from their nominated recordings are now featured at the NativeAmericanMusicAwards.com for the general public to listen and cast their votes. The general public and NAMA Advisory Board members are invited to log onto the website, visit the Vote Now page, register, and cast votes. The 12th Annual Native American Music Awards show is scheduled for Friday, November 12th at the Seneca Niagara Hotel and Casino in Niagara Falls, New York. The show is being held this year in November to commemorate the Native American Heritage Month. Tickets are on sale now through Ticketmaster.com, all Ticketmaster outlets, and the Seneca box office. And today we feature Paul DeMain with Navajo Times reporter Marley Shebala in Window Rock, Arizona, with an update on the recent Navajo Nation Supreme Court decision, ruling on the president of the Navajo Nation's Dine College, a split in the administration intent of the Shiprock Fair, a fair that is almost 100 years old, and the economic downturn means another 45 employees will be getting laid off. And that and more right now on the Native News Update.
Marley Shebala, can you tell us a little bit about this Supreme Court decision regarding the Dine Community College?
She starts tomorrow.
The High Court, which is the Navajo Nation Supreme Court, that was Paul Matenaba. We're going on a trip today to Lupton. Anyway, they were finally called in on this dispute that was happening between the college president, Ferlin Clark, and the NEF Board of Regents. And the Supreme Court overturned a decision by the Labor Commission that reinstated Mr. Clark. And when they did that, then there was a lot of lobbying going on, and then the several Board of Regents were removed. And so it left the Board of Regents off to the side because they didn't have a quorum. And so Mr. Clark was going on, and we were getting several reports of people being fired, and then the Northland Education Association got wind of what was going on, and they wrote a letter, telling Mr. Clark that the college is facing, the loss of its accreditation. And if that happens, that means that students with scholarships can't attend unless they give up their scholarships. And so in looking at all of that, the Supreme Court said, we're going to have to uphold the commission's ruling that, or throw that out, and you're going to have to go on leave until we can make a final decision. So everyone is holding their breath and waiting, and there's some real dissension over there, which is really sad.
Right. So essentially, Marley, the Supreme Court has said that he was operating without a contract. He has no authority to function there. Who does the ultimate authority lay? Where does it sit now without a full Board of Regents?
Well, what's happening is one of the council delegates is moving with legislation to the council to seat the vacant positions so that the board, the regents, can start functioning again. And in the meantime, Dean Jackson, who is a well-known educator on the reservation or across the reservation, has been identified as the temporary college president. And the Supreme Court has not made a final decision in this whole dispute. But what they've done is sort of, brought in sort of a in a way, it's a decision that allows for the college to go on and for the groups to move apart, and if anyone's taking sides within the faculty or the student body, there's no fear of retaliation by either side. So
indeed, you still have to function. You got students in school.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the first Indian colleges in the country, and it's really sad that this is going on.
My understanding is you're covering a situation up in Shiprock where the Shiprock Fair there is having a few problems financially.
Yeah, that story I want to note too. Was filed on the college, was by Cindy Yurth, who
Okay.
is up in Tinley.
All right.
And
Thank you.
then this next story is by Carolyn Calvin, and she's a new reporter for us. And so, just to let people know, we have a new reporter, and but the Shiprock Fair is one of the oldest fairs on the Navajo Nation, and it's in its 96 or 97th year. And the Shiprock Fair, which is up in northern Navajo, here in Navajo land, is recognized as the beginning of the Navajo Winter Ceremony, one of the major ones. There are several, but this is a major one. It's called the Yebiche. And years ago, over 96 years ago, they held that in conjunction with the fair. And the fair at that time, you have to imagine 96 years ago, it was this celebration of crops and people getting together. And there was a lot of real Navajo social dancing and socializing. And also the ceremony was going on. But now it's become really big, much more contemporary. And so you also have the involvement of alcohol and drugs, and it's not good. And there's been discussion across the reservation of separating that fair from this major ceremony.
I see.
Because it does impact the people.
So it's not it's not a financial situation. It's basically a clash of values that it's going on.
Well, what has happened is in most indigenous people, the way that they look at ceremony, if you conduct it in a way that it's not supposed to be conducted, there are certain consequences that happen.
Right.
And people are already beginning to say there's this undercurrent and this discussion being among the people now that, this is all the more reason to separate it, because what's going on now is that you have two separate boards. And even though it's sad, it's ridiculous, it's funny, because both boards have said, we're the boards, and each one has selected their parade marshals. And so you have two, they've involved, as a state politician, Kirkpatrick from Arizona. And I think one board said, they're saying that their parade marshal is President Shirley. And so, Carolyn called both groups and both of these individuals, and they both said, well, they feel, they don't want to accept.
We're the real Shiprock Fair Board.
Yeah. So that's going on. And then I'm not sure if other tribes, you might know this, because your newspaper, your publication covers, Indian country across the board. But here on Navajo, it's facing some serious shortfalls, which is resulting in the possibility of 45 individuals being laid off.
Right.
And these individuals include, tribal police officers. And I've seen some of your coverage about, crime in Indian country, domestic violence. And this is really, I think, an issue that our leaders have, sometimes the leaders, they tend to start these political fights, but it's pulled them together to try to save these jobs, and so they're working on that. So that's something positive that's happening.
Right. Overall, the tribes who are the most dependent on gaming revenues have had the most layoffs and cutbacks since this recession occurred, because the revenues going in and through the casinos have been reduced, so therefore the governmental services have been reduced, and those very large tribes with lots of infrastructure have literally had to lay off hundreds of people in some cases.
And that's the thing, is that the Navajo Nation has one casino. They're thinking about building another one, and the one casino is doing very well. But it's people don't realize that in building these casinos, there was a loan that was made, so you're going to have to pay back those profits.
Right.
And and still, people think, well, where's the immediate, financial benefit from it? Why can't you use that to save the jobs? And it's difficult, to explain these kind of budget maneuverings that are happening, that are going on. But one thing too that was really good that happened on the reservation, and that was covered by Jan Michael, Patterson was a blues fest out near Monument Valley. And the Plateros were there. I mean, this young man, I don't know if many people know about him, but I think Jan said he got 3 encores, and he went out. And I mean, he is just amazing.
Wow,
So,
that sounds good. We want to keep in touch with that. When are your elections coming up again? Tell me that.
they're coming up on November 3rd. And that's going to be the general election, the big election. And so right now it's between Linda Lovejoy, her running mate, which is Earl Tooley. He was a member of the NECARE, an environmental grassroots organization. And the opponent is Vice President Ben Shelley and a council delegate, Rex Lee Jim. So they're going to, be it's going to be interesting.
National general elections are November 2nd. Navajo Nation elections are the day afterwards.
Oh, actually, it's November 2nd. You're right, November 2nd.
Okay, good. Because we want to also watch, in the next couple of weeks, we would like to do some reports on some of the open elections, counties, state governments, and stuff like that, where we're finding a lot of Native candidates this year are running, and so we're going to do a roundup. Me, Mark Trehunt, and several other people. We want you to join in on November 2nd to do some live feed for the results for the Navajo Nation presidential election and for some of the county and state elections that people are watching. You have a Navajo running for the Secretary of State of Arizona. Are there other candidates as well?
Oh yeah, there are several. That's I think. Something that the Navajo people should be proud of is that they have young people that have said, they're going to go ahead and try to get into the county seats, even, with some of the city mayors, city councils, getting on boards and commissions and really making sure that the Navajo people's voices are heard. And wasn't it in Oklahoma there was a young woman that was also elected?
Right. Well, there's people who've been nominated. The lieutenant governor in Alaska is a Inupiat, I believe, or Tinklet. I'm going to have to find out who it is. Diane Benson. There are other candidates in Oklahoma. The balance of power between the Senate makes a difference on who sits and chairs the Senate Select Committee on Indian Affairs. So in the next couple of weeks, we're going to try to spend a little bit of time focused on that, and we hope you can give us a little bit of perspective from the Navajo Nation as well.
Oh, I'd love to.
Marley, it's always a joy talking with you. Thank you for joining with us. We'll do it again soon. What is the website for the Navajo Times so people can look at some of these articles directly?
Oh, they can go to NavajoTimes.com and they can check out all our stories. And we have a huge gallery of the Navajo Nation Fair photos that have been put up. And so people can go ahead and look at that, and see, what the Navajo Nation Fair was like, minus the dust.
Okay, sounds good. Join with us again soon, Marley. Miigwech.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I'll go in it.
And that's the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. I'd like to thank you for joining me, and have a grand day.